Hey guys, so I'm here today to film an anti-haul. I feel like it's trending right now, and I'm just at a point where my makeup collection is so extreme that there's a lot of shit I don't need. And there's a lot of stuff I see that I'm just like, I think once you collect a lot of makeup, everything starts to look the same. Like if I see another warm tone brown eyeshadow palette, I'll kill myself. So it's just like a lot, and there's been a lot of stuff coming out that's just been like really lackluster to me, or also really looks like it should be coming out in like spring, summer, as opposed to coming out as a holiday collection or at the holiday time. So I basically went through Trend Mood and took screenshots of the new stuff so that I could talk about what I've been seeing, what I like, or what I don't like. I have a couple that I want to talk about at the end. I think that I am like interested in that's coming out recently. But yeah, this is an anti-haul. This is shit I don't think that I need. If you want to buy it, live your best life. But I personally don't need more makeup. I just did a Sephora VIB sale haul, which I will link below, and I bought the Tati palette, and I feel like there isn't a whole lot that I see that I'm just like, oh my god, I need it. So, and also I've come to a point where I'm really picky with eyeshadow palettes. I feel like a lot of this will be eyeshadow palettes because really that's all that gets released now. Like, no one is coming out with anything unique or exciting. Like, there were like 25 foundations that launched at end of summer, but since then it's literally holiday collections are like, do you want some eyeshadow? How about some more eyeshadow? Did you know we have eyeshadow? So I feel like that's what mostly I'm going to be talking about today. But let's just start. Before I get started, actually, you should subscribe to my channel. I upload every Tuesday and Thursday. You should stick around. I talk about shit I hate. I talk about shit I love. And I talk about how to dress a mid-sized body because that is the life I'm living right now. And I am a makeup addict who has too much makeup. Oh, has this been in the frame the whole time? Whoops. Move that over there. Okay, so the first thing I have here is the new, I'm gonna put screenshots up of all the stuff, so actually I might scoot over a little bit so I can put some screenshots up here. The first thing that I saw is there's a new Lorac Pro palette. It's called the Lorac New Artistry Book Eyeshadow Palette, and it is another colorful palette. It's very like in the same realm I would think of like the James Charles palette, where it's like, here's your neutrals, here's your brights, live your best life. I had the Lorac Pro palette, the first one I believe, and I actually donated it because it did nothing for me. I didn't love the consistency of the eyeshadows, which I guess is just a personal preference for me. They're not my favorite. They're a little bit of a harder pressed shadow. And just this palette in general, did I not say that if I saw another warm toned eyeshadow palette, I would die? Like, I am so over neutral palettes that are just warm tones. Like, there are other neutral tones than warm tones. I am still waiting for someone to put out a cool tone palette that's good. Still waiting. Everything is warm toned. And this palette specifically looks also very warm toned. And like the brights even, like it's very blue and green focused with like one pink and one purple thrown in with like two yellows. It's very, I don't mind the layout. I find that lately palettes, which I will talk about later, the layouts have just been like, here are random colors with no pattern thrown on in a palette. Figure it out yourself. Whereas this one feels like it's laid out like light to dark. And then the brights are in the bottom half. But also, like, how many eyeshadows are in this palette? Who needs this many shadows? This is very, like, reminds me of, like, the 88 palette. Remember the BH Cosmetics 88? Is it BH Coastal Scents 88 palette? Oh, baby. I'm actually just going to go to the Trend Mood site because I didn't look at how much it costs, and I bet you it's going to be expensive. Well, it's listed here as £39.99. So I'm going to, I don't know why it's in pounds. Yeah, it's 34 mattes with 14 extra dimensional pressed foils. And yeah, also like, I love swatches like this that are just like, here are the fakest swatches in the entire world. No eyeshadow actually looks like that once it's swatched. So I'm passing on that. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the Jaclyn Hill highlighter collection. Where do I start with this? First of all, the trust for Jaclyn Hill is basically gone at this point. Like lipstick, like I lost trust for her when it came to the Vault because I bought it. I didn't buy any of her nude lipsticks because like I really don't love buying lipsticks online, especially nudes, because there's like such subtle variances can totally affect the way they look on you. And I feel like, again, with like people, not a lot of people think that fair toned, cool toned people exist. So all the fair shades are always photographed on people who have yellow undertones. So I can never tell what something's gonna look on me based on the swatches online. So I didn't buy that. And then we all know Lipstickgate happened and everything was a fucking disaster. So then she was coming out with highlighters, which kind of makes sense. Highlighters is kind of what made Jaclyn Jaclyn. It's what, you know, her Becca highlight collection really kind of put her on the map. It's a little boring to come out with highlighters, but like I get it. I watched her reveal video because like I still like I don't want to support her anymore, but like I can't stop watching her videos because also I usually like the same type of makeup she likes. So she has like the highlighter palettes, which to me the swatches look super warm toned. Again, not something that would work for my skin tone. And when it comes to like a highlighter palette like that, I just find that with a palette I'm never going to get use out of all of the shades. Even highlighter palettes I don't get use out of all the shades. I would rather just buy an individual highlighter, so I don't care about that. Loose highlighters, I don't want to ever have to deal with loose powders if I don't have to, so I don't want those. I feel like there was 4 she came out with. Maybe it's just 3. I don't care about her brushes because we both know they're probably just repackaged Morphe brushes, but she also came out with a mood like luminous powder. It's basically a loose powder, but it's luminous. And like literally I messaged my best friend the Try and Mood post and said, I don't care if there's mold in this, I need it. And my best friend said, stab me in the face with metal, I don't care, I need it. I need it. It looks, I think it's like $32 American, which like isn't too bad, but also kind of expensive for me because I'm in Canada and shipping online is always a disaster. But I am interested to see what her luminous powder looks like and to see how luminous it is, because I know Jaclyn loves a luminous finish. And for me, most powders that claim to be like luminous aren't luminous enough for me. So I am interested in that, and I'm sure her highlighters will sell fine, but like I mean, even for me, Champagne Pop and Prosecco Pop didn't work. Like I bought Champagne Pop and then returned it because I didn't like it. So I have no desire in doing that. And I also really don't want to support her madness anymore, but I'm a consumer at heart. Next is the new Morphe brushes palette. I actually watched another Auntie haul and someone said this was made in collab with like 4 influencers and they all got their own little quad, which I don't think was advertised very well. But to me, this just looks like the James Charles palette, but with more shimmers. Like the middle row is shimmers, the bottom is all brights, the top is all neutrals. It's just like, I don't know, nothing about this palette speaks to me. Why do I need like 4, there's like 10 shimmery light to medium browns in this palette. Like who needs that? Nobody. Nobody. It just does nothing for me. So that's a no for me. And I guess also in that vein, I don't think I took a screenshot of it, but the James Charles mini palette, like I like the idea of a mini palette just because I think the Morphe palettes are giant and I'm never gonna use them up. But I also think that coming out with it a year later is kind of shady because like all of your diehard fans are just gonna go repurchase that even though they already have the James Charles palette. I think if you had put it out at the same time as the original, it would be cool because then you could buy either. But now they kind of think, they know that like diehard subscribers are gonna buy both. And that's kind of shady to me personally. So yeah, I don't have any, I also have no desire to buy the James Charles palette because I know that he used pressed pigments that don't blend well and he literally said that in his video, so no thank you. Okay, next, bring me all the shade. I have to talk about the Shane Dawson Jeffree Star collab. Now, I've made it very clear on my channel multiple times that I don't support Jeffree Star and I have no plans of supporting Jeffree Star, regardless of whether or not he apologized for his behavior that happened 10 years ago. There have been other reports of stuff that has happened more recently that I actually found a Reddit thread that was like, here's all the shit Jeffree Star has done. So I will link that down below if you want to become educated on what he's done since calling 2 women the N-word 10 years ago. There is way more than that. I mean, I just don't think that he is changed. I think he pretends to be changed in front of the camera to get money, but I mean, also he's just like really mean. Like if you're on Twitter, you've seen that he's just an asshole to people who are fans of his. And like, I just have, like, it would be one thing if he was just an influencer, but he's the fucking CEO of a company and he just acts like a psychopath. And I have no desire to support that at all. When it comes to Shane Dawson, I'm a little bit more torn because I didn't follow Shane years ago. I literally started watching him when his docuseries started going on, and so I didn't really know any of the drama about what he'd done before. Although since his palette came out, I have seen a lot of screenshots of him in blackface on Twitter. I don't know if he's apologized. People have said he's apologized, but I always think that apologizing because you have to apologize isn't really enough. And also, it depends what his apology was. I haven't looked too deep into it, so I'm a little torn on whether or not I would like to support Shane Dawson. But I also do know that on his Amazon store, he's still selling Shanae shirts, which is basically a character that originated in blackface and is supposed to be a, like, ghetto character. So we all know where he's taking that from, and her name is Shanae. Like, we all know. It's very clear what he's doing with that, or what he did with that. Whether or not he still uses the character, but I mean, he's still making money off of that because it's still on his Amazon store. And I've seen people be like, oh, well, like his merch brand or whatever is control of that. Like, Shane Dawson has money, and if he cared enough, he could get it taken down. Let's be real. Also, on top of all of that, the palette just did nothing for me. My best friend actually loves Jeffree Star, and I tell her she's awful for it all the time. And when I watched the video because I was interested to see like the behind the scenes beauty scene stuff. And when the palette came out, I was like, did you see the palette? And she was like, yeah, I'm kind of bummed. Like, I really wanted to buy it, but that palette does nothing for me. First of all, I am as pasty as they come, and I always complain that there aren't enough deep crease colors in palettes because, like, I can't make a variation of looks if I just have one deep color. And this palette literally just has a black and then the one deep berry tone. Everything else is light tone, so I can only imagine how fucking ashy this is gonna look on someone of color. It's just like a boring palette. It's like a random ass palette. There's like 3 interesting colors in there. There's like 4 silvers in this palette. Why? I love cool tones, and that's too many silvers for me. It's just like, it looks like it'll be a palette that'll be easy to do like a super neutral look if you're fair to medium toned, but everything else is kind of, it just looks weird. And same for the mini palette. I had no desire to look at that, to buy that either. It didn't look any nicer to me. Like, it was like 2 blues and like a random purple. Like, why? Why? Like, normally, I don't support Jeffree Star, but normally I can look at his palette and be like, okay, like, Blue Blood, I can see it. Blood Sugar, I can see it. But also in his palettes, I do feel like Jeffree really likes to put a bunch of shades in there that are, like, the fucking same. And I know that, like, we're always like, ooh, like, I own 17 red lipsticks, but they're all kind of different. And yeah, they're all kind of different. But, like, at the same time, if you're going to put it in a palette, you really don't need 2 shades that once you blend them out, they look almost identical in a palette. So, yeah, I'm over that. Okay, Anastasia. First of all, when she released her Norvina 1 palette, I was like, what is happening with this palette? This is one of those palettes where, like, shades are, instead of clumping colors together to make people who aren't artistes understand the palette, it's just like a fucking mishmash hodgepodge of shades all scattered all over the place, and, like, I don't know where to look. I don't know what to do with it. Same thing applies to the Volume 2 and the Volume 3. Let's not even touch on the fact that they launched all of these palettes in the span of a month and basically screwed over Carly Bible and Jackie Aina. Like, I have also that, what, Norvina could get an end cap at Sephora? Like, girl, don't act like your brand is hard up without an end cap at Sephora. Anastasia is one of the biggest brands. It's one of those brands that people on YouTube are always reviewing and loving, and like literally the only thing they've ever had that had a negative review was Subculture. Everything else people are obsessed with. So, like, I don't think having an end cap at Sephora really should have let you do this to your brand. And also, as a brand, they did not distinguish that it is a completely separate brand from Anastasia at all. Like, ColourPop has sub-brands like Soul and Fourth Ray Beauty, but like also those sub-brands have their own Instagram feeds. This one doesn't. Like, I can understand them posting it on their main Instagram, but they didn't create a separate Instagram. They didn't make it clear this is a separate brand. And I also heard that because it's a separate brand, these are actually separate formulations. And also the mini palettes do nothing for me too. It's just, I don't know what the fuck Anastasia is doing, but it's a hot mess right now and it makes me not want to buy anything. I just feel overwhelmed by Anastasia. Like I bought the Jaclyn Hill palette because it came out in the beginning and then it was like Norvina 1, Norvina 2, Norvina 3. Oh, also here's Carly Bible. Poor girl got screwed at the end. It just like, I didn't like the layout. I didn't like the color schemes. Again, this is one of those collections that felt very, like spring summer to me, which is I think is when it was supposed to come out as opposed to fall winter. Like this is not a holiday collection. What the fuck? Same kind of critique for the next palette, which is the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. I saw someone do an anti-haul on this, and they were like, this bitch, oh, I think it was Thomas Halbert. He was like, she called it Mercury in retrograde, and then she has all the names here that don't make fucking sense. Like, clearly she doesn't follow astrology, which, like, I don't follow astrology either, but then I probably also wouldn't call a palette Mercury in retrograde just for the clickbait. Because she has stuff, I think she had, like, stuff in here called, like, Nebula, which is, like, astronomy, not astrology, and it just feels like this is very, like, it's like a clickbait palette, and also this is another palette that really feels to me like it should have come out in the spring, summer, as opposed to fall, winter, because, like, there's, like, a pastel mint, and a pastel pink, and a pastel, purple, and, like, all these light tone shades. It just felt like it just feels, like, random, and this is another one of those palettes where, like, Huda Beauty is a person of color. She's not, like, super deep skin, but she has dark skin. And this palette looks like it wouldn't show up on most people with skin darker than hers. So it's weird to me that, like, a brand who also came out with just, like, nude palettes for deep skin tones didn't think to put any deep shade. Like, this, again, there's two deep shades in this palette, and they're both the same. Like, one is a deep plum and one is a deeper plum. Like, I guess you're just doing purple looks with this palette because that's the only deep matte shades you have in this palette. It just does nothing for me. Like, the shimmers look nice, but it's just something like I wouldn't reach for, and I have no desire to deal with it. Last thing I want to talk about is the Tarte collab with Lele Pons. Straight up, I don't know anything about Lele Pons except for the react videos that Cody Ko has done about Lele Pons, and she looks cringy AF. It's very strange that Tarte would do a collab with Lele Pons. Like, why? Out of all of the successful beauty gurus you could choose, you choose someone who's not even in the beauty realm, and also this palette looks boring AF. Like, are all of these shimmers? Yeah, it's just like, what is this palette? It just feels like a money grab. There's no point behind it. They just were like, oh, she has lots of followers, people will buy it. And they can probably pay her less than a beauty influencer because she doesn't know how beauty works. I don't know. This does nothing for me and feels random AF. Okay, I've been talking for way too long, but I want to talk about a couple things that have come out that I'm interested in. First, I just saw that e.l.f. launched a new cannabis line the other day, which, like, I know is super clickbaity, but they came out with a happy hydration cream, and all the Feels face oil, a cannabis lip balm, a puff primer. Stop, I need that. And I just think it looks, like, cute. I don't know, I like the cannabis kind of clickbaity shit. It's cute to me. And I did like the moisturizer I've tried from them before, so I'd be interested to try the Happy Hydration Cream and also the All the Feels face oil and also the Puff primer, just because it sounds hysterical, and it's probably, I know they'll likely use cannabis for its priming, or for, like, hydration, so I think it would be interesting to try that. Next is House Beauty. The only thing I really wanted from their original launch was the liquid liner, but I have one that's basically full right now, so I didn't want to purchase it then. But this new, like, red cream shimmery eyeshadow they came out with looks amazing. The lipstick, I'm a little about. Like, I don't need another shimmery red lipstick, but I love the red cream shadow, and just the way, like, the image they released for it, it was so beautiful. Also, like, I'm a Lady Gaga stan, so, like, totally biased. I can't help myself, but I think it looks gorgeous, and I'm interested in that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the Milk Cosmetics collab collection, because I'm torn about it. To me, some of it does feel very spring summer. Like, the Vita palette is all, like, these, like, greens and yellows and oranges and bright shades. The Muerte palette looks more like deep skin tones, and I do kind of want the Muerte palette, mostly just for those really dark reds though. Also, Melt's kind of expensive, but their shadows are great. So I love the Muerte palette. I don't know about the Vita palette, and even the lipsticks they put out with it. Like, I understand it's a Day of the Dead collection, so like usually it's bright, vibrant colors, but like I also think maybe this should have come out again in spring, summer. Also the fact that they've been, what's weird about me to this is that they like teased it like what feels like in October, and it doesn't come out until Black Friday. So like they've been teasing this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and people are like, okay, why is it not out yet? Like, why is this taking so long? It's kind of weird to me that they are teasing it for so long. Like, they're spending so long marketing this collection when, like, why? Like, you don't need to, like, the makeup community is like this, and I understand you want to give a little bit more leeway so people have time to save up for it and stuff, but I just feel like a month and a half, which is what it feels like, is too long to tease this. So I am interested in it. I might pick up the Muerte palette just when I get my Sephora VIB $100 points or my $100 coupon thing, because I have enough points for that. But I'm like kind of on the fence about it, but the collection does look beautiful and I can tell they put a lot into it. So that is all of the things I don't want to buy, and a couple things I do want to buy. Let me know down below what you guys think about the new eyeshadow releases that are coming out, about Jaclyn Hill palette, all the other palettes I talked about. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. I do think that like makeup has been overwhelming AF lately. And look, I get it, the makeup community is booming, but also like sometimes it feels like brands are just putting out, like churning out product to churn out product, and like I'm over it. A palette really has to speak to me to want it, and like nothing has spoke to me recently except for the Jackie Aina palette, which I kind of mostly bought to support Jackie Aina, but it is a beautiful palette, and the Tati Beauty palette. And I'm wearing the Tati palette today, and truly it's worth all the fucking hype. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!